Now, with those formalities out of the way, again, we welcome you to this event. We will be presenting, the Fort Guyana movement will be presenting its contract with the Guyanese people. And the document, of course, you'll get a chance to peruse it. And I know that our candidates will expound more on the reason we're here, why we're presenting this in this manner, and go through some of the elements that are in that contract. And so without any further ado, let me welcome Mr. Nicholas Chesney, who serves as our election agent and will be representing us during this. Thank you.
Good evening all. I will get straight into what I have to present today. Something is broken in politics, and we feel it. Whether you live in Georgetown or Lethem, whether you're an Afro-Guyanese or Indo-Guyanese, Amerindian, whether you work 3 jobs or waiting on a job, or if you're building your business for yourself, you've seen it. We are stuck in an old story. 2 political titans, the same back and forth. Option A, option B. Power pass like a baton between 2 teams playing musical chairs, while the rest of us wait on that change that we were promised. They argue and we suffer. They campaign and we vote. They win and we're forgotten. Until the next time. But something has shifted. And it's just not in the headlines. It's in our homes. In the silence of young people leaving the country. In the frustration on market day. In the weariness of elders who voted all their lives and still are waiting on the promises that were kept. And that's why we're here today. Not to campaign or not to clap back, but to sign a contract. The Forward Guyana movement was built to compete with the old guard. We were built to disrupt the old system entirely. We don't want to rotate faces. We want to rebuild the foundation. And we believe Guyana is ready. So what's in this contract? It's a promise. A promise to end the race as a political currency. No more dog whistles, no more division. The only tribe that matters now is Guyana. A new model of leadership that will work for you and not over you. No lifelong politicians fattening on perks while our healthcare centers run out of medicine. Transparent, measurable goals is what we're after. And you will see our plan. You will track our performance and we will be accountable to you, and not only in Parliament. A government that listens first and acts second. We're not afraid of WhatsApp voice notes and village meetings or being challenged by you. In fact, we expect it. But more than anything, this contract is about breaking the lie that power belongs to only a few. The new power lives in community, in collaborations, in ideas, and not in bloodlines. So if you're tired, but still hopeful, if you're skeptical, but still believe that if you're tired, but still hopeful, if you're skeptical, but still believe in Guyana's possibility, if you're not looking for saviors, but for a system that serves, then we invite you to sign this contract with us. Because Forward Guyana isn't just a party, it's a movement, a mindset, and a mirror. And today we looked Guyana squarely in that mirror and say, no more waiting. We move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chesney. Lauren, you're well represented, of course, and we thank you. Hope that you're feeling better. Now, we want to move on to the actual signing of this contract, and the 3 principals we're here all together now. we will have a ceremonial signing of the contract. And before we get into a number of the details, and I'm sure you have questions about the principles involved, we'll now sign this contract with the Guyanese people.
We thank you very much. And before we sign, we are going to read to you the last pledge contained at the end of the contract. We pledge our names to this contract with Guyana, committed to action, accountability, and a future where every Guyanese, wherever they live, can be proud and prosperous. This contract is not just a promise, it is a blueprint for national renewal, grounded in the real priorities and hopes of the Guyanese people, and designed to restore faith, dignity, and opportunity for all. As such, we pledge to govern with integrity, inclusiveness, and a focus on results. Together, let us build a future that works for all. And we call upon you, the people of Guyana, to work with us as you hold us accountable. We invite you to take your rightful place as guardians of the cooperative republic, demand answers, track progress, challenge complacency, join community councils, budget forums, civic audits, and citizen-led reviews. Let us not just build a government, but a just governance culture together. This is our covenant. We ask for your vote, not for power, but for purpose. A new Guyana is possible. Let us build it together.
Right.
I'm not sure which is the fancier.
Y'all actually supposed to be doctors. All right, so yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Now that we've gotten your signatures here, we're now bound to ensure that you carry out these things for the Guyanese people. On that note, we're going to call on the Prime Ministerial candidate, Mr. Nigel Nyambe London. I remember your little name.
Right.
Yes. To the podium for his remarks. Put your hands together, please.
Thank you very much, Randolph. Members of the press who are here. Again, I welcome you. Thank you for being present. Those my colleagues, I consider them to be siblings. Nonetheless, the presidential candidate and our chairman of the Guyana movement, I'm certainly grateful to have the opportunity to do yet again that which is unique and pioneering in nature. My brothers and sisters, fellow Guyanese, today I stand before you not just as a candidate, but as a fighter for justice, a fighter for integrity, a fighter for dignity, a fighter for every Guyanese who's ever felt unseen, unheard, and left behind. I'm not here to ask you to believe in empty promises. I'm here because I believe in you. And I believe that together we can break the chains of the political system that has held us back for far too long. For decades, Guyana has been caught in a cycle of political control. where the elite thrive while people survive. That era must end. And the Forward Guyana movement, it will. We are not here to paint the same old walls. We are here to tear them down. Because real change doesn't come from the top down. It rises from the people up. And we're bringing the people back to the center of power. Our commitment is simple: to fight for your right to a better life. To ensure that you have clean water. Yes, in 2025 we're speaking about clean water again. Quality health care and safe communities. To make sure that your children can dream and actually see those dreams come to life right here in Guyana. We are fighting for the farming region too, who can't get fair prices for crops. For the teaching region 9, who walks miles to educate our children. For the youth in Sophia, with big ideas and no platform to launch them. Forward Guyana is a movement of action, not talk. We will take on the powerful, the corrupt, the stagnant, and we will do so boldly because our loyalty is not to titles or tradition. Our loyalty is to you. We are building a future where government is no longer a gatekeeper, but a gateway. Where communities are no longer begging to be heard, but are actively shaping the policies that impact them. I am committed to this land with every breath that I take. I'm not looking for office. I'm here on an assignment. And that assignment is to liberate the Guyanese people from the grip of hopelessness and put power where it belongs, back in your hands. Let us no longer wait for better leadership. Let us be it. Let us no longer hope for change. Let us create it. This movement is yours. This mission is ours. This moment is now. Together we move, not just forward, but freely. Thank you. And may our beloved Guyana rise to meet her full potential.
Thank you very much, Mr. London. As we're moving very swiftly, we want to welcome to the podium our presidential candidate for her address. So I know you're eagerly awaiting to ask your questions. So we want to put our hands together and welcome Mr. Manzo Walton Desir.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Fellow Guyanese, patriots all. Today, the Forward Guyana movement laid out its claim and stated its commitment to fight for and to build a community and a nation that works for all. We are in this fight to dismantle a political cartel that has kept people poor, vulnerable, and increasingly dependent. We are fighting to restore the dignity of this nation through the empowerment of people, fighting to restore the soul of a people through respect and decency. Today is not just another day in politics. It's not a campaign rally. It is not about promises written in the sky or slogans that fade after elections. Today marks a turning point, a contract between you and us, the people of this great nation. And we're here to say to you today, no more politics as usual. No more betrayal, no more excuses. There are just over 20 days to go before a new tomorrow starts. But these next days are crucial to spreading the word of change, real change, to mobilizing people to get ready to take our destiny in our own hands. Our people, the people of Guyana, have to be vigilant and they have to be wise. Now, we see a campaign unfolding out there where the status quo is spending billions of dollars to convince us that we have no real choice. But when you give the status quo your vote, you transfer your power back to them. You give them the license to rob you blind for another 5 years, and you agree to be satisfied with just accepting crumbs that fall from their tables. I want to talk to us about corruption. Because corruption does not only rob a people of their money, but it robs us of our opportunities. It robs us of our very dignity. And for almost 60 years since our independence, we have practiced a politics that obviously does not work anymore for our people. This country has never had more money in its history, and at the same time has never had more marginalization, has never had more poverty, has never had more people struggling to simply get by. And there's a saying that says that a rising tide should float all boats. This supposedly rising tide has not lifted every boat. The real shareholders of this nation, you, the people, are not benefiting from the oil dividend. It is clear that Guyana ain't broke. It's simply broken. On September 1, we ask you, the people of Guyana, to vote for your interests. Not for tradition, not for race, not for tribe, and certainly not for those who have conspired to keep us here and to keep us poor. Look, we are all fed up of the political victimization and harassment. We must reject this notion that we have to live in a state of permanent fear and frustration. We do not. Today, we have effectively signed a contract with the people to address issues such as the cost of living and to address the empowerment of our people, to build unity through enhancing our democracy and to improve the quality of governance by waging war on corruption and promoting transparency and accountability. This, my brothers and sisters, has to be a defining moment in the history of Guyana. We declare that real change can't wait because people must be able to yearn for a morning when their hopes will rise with the sun. For those children who will go to sleep tonight hungry, and for those parents who fret on a tomorrow of great uncertainty, for them real change can't wait. For the mother and the father still seeking justice for their child who might have disappeared, those who have been killed and the perpetrators shielded, they know that this is urgent and that real change can't wait. Change can't wait because we cannot afford to lose another generation. People want to keep their dignity. They do not want handouts. They simply want a hand up. They want a system where they can own their land, where they can get affordable housing, a system where we encourage small business development and provide a financing model that will help people to actually realize their dreams. They want a system that invests in skills training, a social services network that takes care of the poorest and the most vulnerable in our midst, and a national social policy that empowers our youth and our women. We refuse to settle. We refuse to fight just for exchange. The Guyanese people want something more. They deserve real change. They want real change. We have come to this understanding. We've come to this understanding that breaking these entrenched systems will never be easy. It will never be straightforward. And we understand that the people who promote and protect these systems are not going to relinquish this without a fight. But history has taught us that the ordinary people, it is the ordinary man and woman in their villages, it is the boldness of youth, it is the faith of women who bring real change to nations. And so today we have signed a contract with the people of Guyana. Not a political manifesto, but a moral obligation. We're not seeking blind trust. We're asking that you hold us accountable. This is not about winning power. This is about returning power to you. And so I say to every farmer in Region 2, we say to the miners in Region 9, we say to the teachers of Region 4, we say to the youth in Linden, we say to the small business owner, wherever you may find yourself in this great nation, this movement is yours. So let us not sign this contract today with ink only, but with action. Not just with hope, but with courage. Because I truly believe that together we can fix what is broken. And together we can move Guyana forward. May we all be strengthened by our respective faith for the great task that is ahead of us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Morgan Nazir. And as promised, we are going to have our contract available. It should be up in just a few. The issue with the contract is that our principals would have signed it, but it wouldn't be legal and binding if you, the people, didn't get a chance to sign it. And so we will be making available a link online for those persons who will buy into the contract, who will say, yes, we believe in what you're doing. To put your digital signature there, that's as a sign that, you know what, we also are saying, yes, we are going to accept this, and we are going to hold you accountable for this, what you're presenting to the Guyanese people. So look out for that online, where you'll be able to put your signature on this contract as well. At this point in time, we want to move forward to questions and answers from the media, questions from the media. And of course, you can indicate your media house and just indicate if you have a question. We have a few minutes for that.
Mr. Zerda, Mr. Bowden, and audience. Could you say how you arrived at this contract?
Thank you for that question, Dennis. We arrived at it because when we looked across the political landscape, what we realized is that there really lacked a deep philosophical underpinning of political action. Where do we want to take Guyana is what we asked ourselves. How do we want to see our nation grow? And for us, that could not be achieved through, oh, we will give you this and we will give you that and we will give you that. To us, what has been absent from our political landscape for a very long time is a rallying point, a rallying cry. And so, in the spirit of the difference that Forward Guyana seeks to bring to our political landscape, we said, you know what? We are going to make this contract with the people of Guyana, and we are going to ask that you hold us to it, and that you hold us accountable. And so what this contract sets out is a very macro understanding of where we see Guyana going. And we have addressed as comprehensively as we could the direction that we want to see every sector of our society head in. And that is generally the reason why we thought that it was important as stage one of our offering to the people of Guyana. That first, we will have a philosophical rallying point for this nation. And then secondly, in a few days, you will see us putting out some of the highlights of the specific interventions that, based on our research, based on the experts that we have assembled, are sustainable interventions for the people of Guyana.
Who did you consult? Who did you consult?
This was done via consultation with experts, with people in background in economics, in governance, and of course the ordinary man, the ordinary Guyanese, hearing from them that we're tired of broken promises, hearing from them that we're tired of being told that, okay, you will get a 50% increase in salary, and then 3 years down the line you're told, oh, that was a Photoshop. So it came out of a period of consultation, and of course, through collaboration with our coalition partners who have also been doing their groundwork, and who have also been hearing from people what they really want and what will make their lives better. So we're happy with the panel of experts who have significant experience in governance, in economics, in and out of Guyana, and who really want to put their shoulders to the wheel to bring an offering to the people of Guyana that is sound and sustainable.
Hi, Kurt Campbell. Yes, sir. On specific interventions, in the absence of the document, I was wondering if you could highlight in some of the very areas you mentioned, cost of living, empowerment of people, building unity, improved quality of governance. Could we get the highlights, the specific interventions in those areas?
Sure, and we know that for us in terms of housing and the ownership of land, that they've done some significant work on that, and so we have literally brought that to bear here. So I will of course give him the opportunity, because I don't believe that I am the spokesperson and everything. His expertise in this is certainly unmatched. So when you want to talk to us about the
sure. Just to add a little bit to just to add a little bit to what you were answering to Shamal.
Yeah.
For too long, Guyana has had one system, politics that relies on the manifesto promise. And one of the concerns that we have, and we've collectively decided, is to agree not to just commit to the people, but to commit to ourselves. So if there's a failure in this promise, that's why we moved to a contract. We will look ourselves in the mirror as the people who failed, and not just the people. Today we have what's called a bidding war. Who can up the needle the highest, or offer the people more? It's no longer about the people and what is sustainable. It's now about who can offer them more. So I wanted to add that to what you discussed earlier. Moving to housing. The land of Guyana belongs to the people. The Guyanese people are not in the business of electing governments to make our government to make them owner of the wealth of this nation. The wealth of this nation belongs to the people. So what they're expecting is leaders that will take office and make sure that that wealth is managed to the best capacity. Now, someone asked me a question yesterday. How would we fund giving the land to the people? How much does it cost the nation? How much does it cost the treasury to obtain the land? I think we all know the answer to the question. So why is it complicated to give it to the people? What has been happening is that giving land to the people has become a part of politics, where politicians will make a political promise to do what they are supposed to do once elected. Now, all of us here are adults. If we go down St. John Road today and find a property We don't go to the bank and ask the bank, can I get a loan to purchase that property? Then go back to the bank and ask them, can I get a loan to purchase the house? We go to the bank and say, I want to buy that house, which comes with the land. So we believe, and we collectively believe, that what has happened in Guyana is we have created a system that will push people further into poverty. Because why would you give a person who's never owned a house a uphill challenge to come tomorrow morning to find a deposit to buy a land, which didn't cost you anything in the first place? It belongs to the people. And then there's a second process. We need a deposit for the house. Why not create the infrastructure, and like every other country in the world, even Guyana, and give them a minimum deposit, which works everywhere, 3%, which they can afford. In this case, a $10 million home, $300,000, not for the land, and come back and pay $300,000 for the house and land, because we'll subsidize the infrastructure. What is missing is not so much the policy, it's people that are prepared to do it, and people that have to know how to do it, and care for the people and put people first. So this is not politics. Someone texted me just now, why are you wearing a green sweater? Because I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as someone that cares for Guyana. And I challenge any one of the politicians today to say anything that I'm saying today is not correct. Secondly, put in a system in place where every Guyanese can own a home. It's not a complicated thing. If the sitting government was smart enough to build a $2 billion cash to shore, a bridge across the Demerara River, a $16 million highway, you're telling me they're not smart enough to divide the land and give it to the people? So again, this movement is not just about politics as usual. It's about putting people first, giving back to the people. Owning a home is not just a passion, it's bringing back dignity to people, giving them something that they can depend on, giving them something that they can rely on, because owning a home can create generational wealth, because having a home creates equity. Equity that a young mother, a young father that wants to invest in. The average person in Guyana, they can own a home if it's properly managed, if they know how, if leaders explain to them, and not even have to work to pay for it. Because the equity that we're going to give them in these homes, which we'll expand on in our policies, can show them how they can use that same property, return it to the same bank, and get a second income that can actually essentially pay for the home or give a single mother something else to do. So again, it's not just about politics with us. It's about making sure that every Guyanese become a part of the wealth that this nation has. Speaking to policy. Secondly, one of the things our presidential candidate will, you guys asked the question, fellow speaker, Mr. Kirk. The government bragged every day about how much they would have done in infrastructure. I saw you at all the press conferences. They had all the famous faces in the front line. They've been given contracts to their friends and families, but the opposition and the people have been saying. But this is what we're saying. Why give the people what they're entitled to? Why did I say that? Our procurement law is very clear. It speaks to 20% of every contract going to small contractors. So if we would have spent, I think our last research shown over $1 trillion should have gone to these small contractors. Do you know how much these small communities would have benefited? Instead of giving them now at last minute 3 weeks before an election, a month before an election, these election promises where we're going to give you a $550 million contract, we are going to make sure that not just that 20% goes to the people, we're going to fight to make sure 30 go. Because these people that they now fall scraping to, with myself, has been left behind for too long. So it's about time. In any economy, it goes like this. The successful, and in Guyana, it goes like this. It's about time we bring those people back in line. That's policy number 2. I don't know if you want us to keep going, because we're not all the policies. We got all the policies built in.
So let me just say to that point, the contract is available via the QR code, and for those persons who are in the media group, you would see a PDF in there with the contract. So the media can go through and check that out. So just to Mr. Campbell's point that you have the document now. Any other question?
And to add that you will see measures specifically targeted to deal with cost of living issues. You will also see what we believe to be a very prudent taxation policy and regime being put forward, and of course our housing policy, because really and truly dignified living should not be a luxury. And we will talk as well about, and you'll see our positions on how we help to subsidize rising food costs and the manner in which we intend to stabilize food pricing and strengthening the Consumer Affairs Commission to prevent the kind of price gouging that we see happening now, and how do we address the issues of inflation, particularly given the fact that when the government injects a cash grant into the economy, that the next day prices rise and they never go back down. I saw somebody asking a very interesting question with the bridge tolls. So now that the bridge tolls are free, are we going to see, in the fare, etc., are we going to see this being reflected in transportation costs? So these are real concerns that we have, and one of the things that we have been very deliberate about is making sure that when we bring these policies to the people of Guyana, that they've been tested, that they're viable, and that they're sustainable. I know that a lot of people are asking about a manifesto, but the governing party has not yet put out the manifesto. They've traveled all around the country and they've made promises to different regions and they've put out highlights of certain things, but none of them have put out a comprehensive, overarching document in this manner. And so we just wanted to know that. Any other questions?
Okay.
So Talisha from Southeast.
Hello, Tanisha.
So I was just wondering if you think that you have the kind of trained people in terms of the skill, the competence, the experience to implement all of your the grand plans that you have. And secondly, if I could just ask a second question, I couldn't help but notice that all three principles are all of one race.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, I know you would say that it's not about race and so on, but how would you convince the public that your party is indeed rooted in inclusiveness, as somebody mentioned earlier?
Thank you for that. And I absolutely love the question because it allows us to confront an issue that I believe has dogged our politics for the last 6 years. So I'm going to start with the issue of inclusivity first. I need the mic closer. Okay, good. This one can't come any closer because of the cable.
Good.
First and foremost, I will point out that the Forward Guyana Movement Coalition is just that. It is a coalition. It has come together organically, and it happens to be led by each in its own capacity, happens to be led by an Afro-Guyanese. And so that is the organic nature of it. Not engineered, but organic. The second point I want to point out to you is that if anyone were following the profile of our candidates, you would see that we have a healthy, collaborative mix of Guyanese, from East Indian backgrounds to indigenous backgrounds. We have somebody who has, Chinese mixed, etc. And so we have a healthy mixture of candidates from all backgrounds. I will say this as well, because it is something that we have been asked. we are here to fight for the people of Guyana. And we are so happy that the people from all walks and all ethnicities that have been drawn to this movement have not been drawn because it's led by 3 Afro-Guyanese. They've been drawn because they believe in the spirit and the intent of what we have set about doing. And I think that in itself is groundbreaking and it's revolutionary. And it challenges the idea that not because I don't look like you means I can't fight for you. So I hope that that puts that firmly to bed. And I would add this too, that if the representation of the leadership and it being mixed and seemingly catering to every demographic or something to go by, then I suppose the PPP should have been performing and managing this country in a much better way. But they're not. They're not. And so we are not afraid of the challenges that say, okay, because you are 3 Afro-Guyanese, you can't advocate. We will advocate for every Guyanese, irrespective of their race, their creed, their origin, because that is the spirit of this movement. Now, as it relates to trained people, absolutely we have the trained people. We have fallen into the fallacy that a minister of government must know everything. And it is the control freakism that has characterized this nation for so long. Guyana has a wealth of experience of technical people. And it is technical people that you need to drive policy implementation, not politicians. And so we are firmly of the view, and we know for a fact that there are Guyanese both at home and abroad who are willing to step up to the challenge, who have in fact been waiting to make a contribution but have been sidelined either because they are not thought to be of a particular political affiliation, that they are of a certain ethnicity, etc. We know the stories, they're right. And a large part of why we are here is because this current government has gutted the government, and I know I've worked in government for 20 years, have gutted the government of expertise because they prefer loyalty of expertise. We don't have that issue. We will hire the experts that are necessary. I will make one other example, and then I want to see if PM Nigel has anything to add. When it talks about the management of the oil sector, I want the media to challenge Barjagli on his management of the oil sector. They promised that within 60 days they will have a petroleum commission. It's not yet been convened. Who has been holding him accountable for that? Instead, they've gutted our institutional capacity, and he has replaced it with himself and Bobby Gosai of audit, Exxon audit fame. And they are managing our entire oil sector. I believe that there are enough Guyanese who are ready and willing and who have the expertise and the capacity, irrespective of their political affiliation, to run this country and to bring the technical capacity that we need. The politicians will do policy. Implementation is for the technical people, and that is a paradigm that we've lost in governance in Guyana.
Sure, thank you. I really appreciate your questions. I'm terrible with names, I forget mine, so just repeat that, okay? But not to misquote you, I think the question you asked have been about train people if they're available to implement the grand ideas. I don't see them as being grand, we see them as being realistic. Because someone owning a home in Guyana is not a grand idea. It should be a very simple thing to do. Additionally, being able to pay our people better is not a grand idea. It's very simple. If we look at the systematic way that the current administration has gone about being corrupt, it's amazing. For every 1 kilometer of road, for example, asphaltic surfaces that's built in this country, we spend an additional $412 million more than many other nations for the same structure. And if you ask where is that money going, many would not be able to answer. So our idea is not necessarily grand. They're very simple, which is why I believe the Guyanese have said that they, for the greater part, would love to have this new movement with ideas that they can relate to. They're realistic. We're not saying that we'll give you, because somebody said yesterday, $250,000 as a cash grant. We'll give you $10 million. Vote for us. And then, like our presidential candidate said, it was a Photoshop. We didn't actually say that. We're being realistic with people. And but more than anything else, I really appreciate and I commend you highly for asking the second question about the ethnic composition of our platform. Honestly speaking, when I travel around this country and interact with Guyanese, they speak to me as I'm a Guyanese who's just and who's fair. Many people from the PPP have said to me, and I'm speaking to Indian supporters, those of Indian descent, that they appreciate the fact that I'm an honest person and I stand for everybody. What Guyana cannot deal with at this time and should not have to deal with at this time is one who stands there and, respectfully speaking, or the best way I could put it, as a rubber stamp, who we've had about 2 prime ministers, probably even going back to 3 of them more, who would have depleted the concept, the image, and the class that comes in that office. Mark Phillips can hardly talk anything that makes sense and with strength, that is. He has to be made to say something. Now forgive me, you asked the question, so please let me forget me, right? Why would we have to go hunting for individuals to say, well, because you are an Amerindian, and we need Amerindians to vote for us, indigenous people, then come be a prime minister candidate? It speaks of distrust. It speaks of disunity. And in some cases, implicitly speaks of racism. I trust you, honestly speaking. And I don't believe that as a Guyanese, you would do me harm because of how I look. If you have that mentality towards each other, I think we'd be a much healthier nation. And competence must always be what is priority. If an African descendant who's Guyanese gets a heart attack today, or a chairman is not feeling well, you see him over there, I don't think he would say he doesn't want a Chinese doctor to touch him, or an Indian Guyanese doctor to touch him, because he understands his life is on the line now. The life of our nation is on the line. And we need competent people who are honest and who demonstrate to all that you stand for is right. Finally, when I stood, for example, with the COVID situation and the medical tyranny, I stood for every Guyanese. I went to many communities in this Craverton, Carver Creek, wherever it was, to say I stand for all of you. And I've never been rejected by one of them as being racist. So I must again commend you highly for asking that question. You have a lot more courage than most men I know.
Mr. Robinson. Go ahead, you. I was looking at you. Yes, sorry.
Council, I have 4 quick questions, please. One, what's your position with respect to the renegotiation of the oil contract with ExxonMobil? 2, can you say definitively whether you would like to see a petroleum commission established? And then 3, did your authority consult with the organized private sector, labor, and civil society in order to come up with this contract? And 4thly, to what extent do you support a system of price control?
You may need to answer again. I'm an old man.
All right, I have 3. The 4th one is price control. On the Petroleum Commission, yes. We have to have the institutional capacity to manage this. Look, we have 11 billion barrels in reserves. We've surpassed Qatar, Mexico. It is estimated that the oil well translates at its highest to about $50,000 per year to every Guyanese citizen, going at the current population census that we have of about 800 and something thousand. So I want us to understand the transformative nature of what is upon us. And if we're going to handle this transformative time, 1, you require competent people. 2, you require people with a transformative vision to do it. It is unheard of that a country would have this type of industry that we have, and a petroleum commission is not yet in place to ensure proper oversight. Remember, we had the Department of Energy. Barjagdio disbanded that and said within 60 days, I remember reading it in the Guyana Times, we will have a petroleum commission. Well, 5 years later, we don't have one. He said that at the time because he recognized that it was important. But like most things, when you get into the seat and the power and so on, and the ability to do certain things gets to you, you forget your word to the people. Well, we're different. And we're saying, and immediately, a petroleum commission must be set up to manage effectively and to regulate effectively this sector. On the issue of the renegotiation of contract, we have been very clear that with the evolution of our relationship with Exxon, etc., that it is natural in an evolving business environment that renegotiation will happen. The focus has to be, however, on what we are doing with what we have now. How are we maximizing what we have now? How are we setting up the institutional arrangements to make sure that what we have now is working, because obviously it is not working. So our focus will be on making sure that we don't put the cart before the horse. And this process of negotiation looks very differently to what we think it is. You have to have at your disposal proper international law firms that are able to do these negotiations. You have to have proper financial advisors, proper technical advisors. Exxon has thousands of people assigned to its Guyana operation. We got 3, Barjagdio, Gosai, and hopefully, what's the name of the Natural Resources Minister? Vikram Barrett. And so our first business, if we are serious about this, is to make sure that our institutional arrangements are in place so that we can make the best of what we have. Because there is something like sanctity of contract, and we're going to be very clear with the people of Guyana. Just like we signed this contract today and we expect that you will hold us to it, in business and in the world of economics, people must be sure that what we have agreed to is what you will uphold. And so naturally, as a part of the evolution of our interaction with Exxon as an international partner, we believe that renegotiation will come. Our focus in the immediate and medium term is making sure that we have the capacity to get maximum returns for the people of Guyana on what we currently have, and then we will move on to looking at renegotiating, etc. As it relates to the issue of price control, we believe that the government has to play an active role in stabilizing prices in the country. Greedflation is a problem.
When you say
And if
active
the
role,
gov-
you mean price control?
Yes.
I am very deliberate about what I'm saying.
So don't clarify.
No, price control is an entire regime, an entire structure that has various connotations. I am saying to you that the government has to and must have a duty to make sure that price gouging doesn't happen. To the ordinary man, that may come over as, okay, you have to control prices. I prefer for us to look at how do we stabilize prices, particularly in the context of the necessities. I'll give you an example. I lived in Trinidad for some years, and when you go into a store, you see on certain basic commodities, do not pay more than. Because it is important that the public not be gouged. Those are some basic interventions that can happen to cushion people. Because how do you explain that yesterday the price of eggs is $1,700 a tray, and 5 hours later it is $2,500? something is fundamentally wrong, and you cannot accept a government or any government saying we don't have anything that we can do to fix it. We may, as in other countries, have to look at the introduction of food co-ops, because if retailers, etc., cannot pass on the savings that they're obviously having to the public, then something has to be done. We just can't say to the Guyanese, you're at the mercy of these people, we can't do anything. In the US, you have certain clubs like Costco and all of these cooperative type arrangements where people can go, they get items at a subsidized cost, and people are able to afford the basics. So there's an entire regime that has to be put in place, and we are going to be putting into place to make sure the Guyanese are cushioned from the as it relates to the cost of living. As it relates to consultations, I would say that a lot of our consultations have been done in this manner, particularly because we are an evolving, a newer movement. So we would have had input from the People's Movement, we've had input from VPAC, and of course, a number of position papers have been put out by these entities that continue to be ignored. We have looked at a number of those to see what their positions are on particular issues as it relates to labor and returning to collective bargaining, etc. These are all issues that we have contemplated and that we are and will address as you will see. So it has been a mixture of gleaning from the experience of and the consultations from the other coalition partners and consulting a number of these position papers that have been out there but just seem to have fallen by the wayside. So I think I've addressed all four of the issues. Could we give somebody else? Or you
I just have a clarification, Council.
Sure.
How do you intend to find a balance between sanctity of contract on one hand and dealing with the issue of the need for consensus in terms of renegotiation and also the provision on the stability clause? How are you going to balance those three elements in trying to find a renegotiation position?
Look, and this is where we are going to build the technical capacity to do this. I am not going to sit here and do like our Jack Bill and pretend to have all of the answer. This is why people consult technicians. This is why we have investment bankers. This is why we have engineers. This is why we have people who have done this in and around the world to bring to us the best advice. And so we are going to be bringing all of the technical people together. Should we be given the opportunity to govern, to absolutely implement that, or else to advocate very strongly for these things to be done. So,
But you say advocate to me that if there were to be calls or motions or draft legislation to come to the Parliament by other parties who support legislation for negotiation?
We have been very clear that we will not be opposing just for the sake of saying that we are opposing. For Guyana to move forward, we have to be able to be graceful enough to say, yes, this is working, we will improve on this. No, this is absolutely not working, you have to do better and different for the people of Guyana. And so it will be heavily reliant on the technical advice that we will be receiving. Anybody else?
Shania Williams from Country News. I have two questions. Can you say exactly when will the party launch its campaign? And two, now that the policies are out and it's a relatively new party, how do you plan to gain votes in communities where the major political parties have traditionally held their strong influences and continuous support?
I want to repeat the question.
I am at a disadvantage because we didn't hear the last part. The first question we heard was when are we going to launch our campaign?
Yes. And the second one being as a relatively new party, traditionally held their strongholds and influences and continue to support.
I would say this.
If you can just repeat the question
Oh,
so that the
I'm so
microphone
sorry.
is
I'm being
clear.
asked to repeat the question. She's asked, when will we launch our campaign? And now, how do we plan to gain votes in the strongholds that the older political parties have been able to speak to? I'm going to ask Nigel to address the last one. But the first one is that our campaign has been launched. Our campaign has been launched. And it is in keeping with the difference that we intend to make. Because I can tell you, we could take $4 million, rent a stage, get sound, etc. Or we could take that same $4 million and go into the community and make a difference. And so what we have decided to do is to go into the regions that we're competing in, have a family event, because that is our orientation and focus. We've had it in Region 10, we're going to be having it in a number of the other regions, so that we are putting our resources, the limited resources that we have, the uncorrupted resources that we have, and we'll be channeling it in that manner. So across Guyana, our teams are on the ground there, on the ground in Region 2 right now as we speak, in Region 6, in Region 10, and we're knocking on every door, and we are approaching every Guyanese with our message of change and hope. And I think that segues beautifully into the second question.
It actually doesn't. Thank you for the question. When we consider the previous electoral cycles, I think this one is the easiest to convince any Guyanese as to why they should not vote for the two that are before them. In one instance, would have been a complaint about the lack of representation, and in the other, the injustices that were meted out to Guyanese people. They are tired. Additionally, the demographic of the electorate has changed, and about 67 to 70% of those individuals are between 18 to 40 or 45 years. So they're younger, and they're not buying into the typical race baiting and divisive politics. So it's a lot easier now to convince people that Guyana has become different. We are united, we're far more sensible people, and interestingly, the devices in the hands of people called cell phones have made a marked difference, where people are not subjected to just one voice. So the individuals, for example, were saying that they're impressed by the quality of leadership that we offer. And I don't intend to be insulting, but it's just the truth. I'm reporting what I've heard, that between Amanza and me, for example, being the presidential and the prime ministerial candidate, they hear a level of intelligence, wisdom, class, and they see decorum that it impresses them to say we could deal with these people. We're at a press conference, we're not cussing anybody out. We're answering your questions as professionally as we can, and respectfully as we should. So the youths of our country are seeing that there is quality in leadership here. And to add to that, the Guyana Young situation has put the PDP in a terrible place, because they've demonstrated to Guyanese that for the first time we have someone who's paid to be president, and he's also reporting as a medical practitioner. He's a forensic scientist, but to me he's a pathological liar, because he chose to tell the people of this nation that that child who was kidnapped was in a pool for 20 hours. The legal system and the police structure under the PDP has taught us that if you lie about the situation, you're a terrorist. Who in their right mind would vote for any such person? And please forgive my passion, Madam Reporter, but this is really, really terrible. We have people languishing in jail now on remand for burning a tie and they call terrorists. So when you speak to Guyanese, this seems to be the easiest thing to do, to not vote for them. Additionally, we have those who are saying that, okay, we know you're bad, we know you're corrupt, you know you've been friends with the most corrupt political party, but we didn't have much of a choice. But now they say that there is a choice, and the choice that they have is credible, our hands are clean. Our character speaks for itself. And we are convinced that those who are even viewing this broadcast and your report are able to see at this head table individuals who have fought passionately for the country. And there are others, other candidates, like of course I don't name all of them, but like the B-man as they call him. Francis is in the mud. Mr. Best was in the, I call it Lake Diamond, where people live, because the house got all kind of water around, you can swim outside. And they call that development. We are on the ground making representation. And Guyanese nowadays have said to me and to all of us that they value the representation we've made. Finally, I was highly impressed when I saw a member of parliament who could tell the speaker, this is the people's house. Now, if there's any reason why I'd vote for Amasa Walton to be president, it's because she stood in the House of Assembly and said to the speaker, this is the people's house. I'll talk for the people. That's called representation. When you see her in the sun going out there to meet with people and to share the grief of mothers and to try to comfort them as best as she could, that's called representation. So we don't have a great job to do to convince people. And permit me to finally say, when you have at the head table a young man who was put in jail for saying he would hold on to his business and he wouldn't let it go, Guyanese have suffered the same fate and some the worse fate, because some of them are dead because they said they're not going to bow to a corrupt system. Guyanese who desire decency, integrity, and patriotism, here we are. I'm being with Johnny, she asked me for cabinet, so I said, here we are, the choice is easy.
Mr. Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, I just have two questions. I wanted to know whether the contract for Guyana movement was conceptualized for the party as a party that will form the next government or as a party that will get parliamentary representation. And I'm asking this question because I realize that in the contract you're taking on some big issues, and right at the top you have constitutional reform. But on the backside of that question is also, we see other parties talking about doing the numbers and knowing, predicting where that could place them post September 1st. I want to know what is your own assessment telling me in terms of the support you will garner.
We have entered into this to win. And that's the mindset that we approach this with. And so we're not afraid to tackle the big issues. I'm glad you highlighted constitutional reform, because we have to be very clear that after 60 years, it does not work for us. And so we have said very clearly that we are committed to constitutional reform, because the reformation of this political system is the only thing that will give Guyanese a chance at a dignified, good life. We have had promises of reform. And when people get into office and they taste the sweet, suddenly, that has to change and it has to stop. And what we are saying is that yes, the numbers may look disadvantageous, but there has to be a point that some generation of people will stand up and say, you know what, even if it's deleterious to us politically, even if it's not politically expedient, Guyana needs this. And Guyana needs it desperately. Because to stand and to continue to operate within a system that does not work is a waste of energy. The energy has to be directed, as we said, and to dedicate my energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. And one of the hard truths is that the Constitution has to be reformed. We have to move to shared governance. We cannot live in a country where when one set of people are in power, another set feels excluded. And when another set is in power, the other set feels excluded. And we are prepared to look it square in the face and to say, okay, that is it, enough is enough. Some group of people have to be willing to change this thing, man. And I think we are the generation that will see that change. We are the generation that will see power being returned to the people. We are the generation that will see the end to this list system, where if you suck up to the head of the list or you could curry favor, then yes, you're guaranteed a seat in parliament. You want representation, you want to represent Linden, go to the people of Linden, make your case to the people of Linden, and have them elect you to the National Assembly. That is what representation and power looks like. And that is what we have to fight for in this country, or else we are going to be a country that continues to be hamstrung, that continues to see where our institutions are eroded. And I'm glad you asked that question. Is it Kurt? Kurt knows how to do that. You look at the police. You look at the police and what is happening with the Guyana police force. The PPPC government is directly responsible for the state in which we find the police force because they do not believe in strong institutions. Imagine to have a group of professional officers parade themselves to thank the president when he knows for a fact that he has no authority to promote anybody, but they are willing to ignore even what the law says in the name of political expediency. Then you have a problem. You have a problem. He knows that the Police Service Commission must be the people doing it, but they believe in the cult of personality type leadership, where you come and you kowtow and you thank them. They're not interested in building strong institutions in this country because they know if they build strong institutions, that power will actually be with the people and you can no longer control and manipulate them because the people will now be able not to depend on a handout but to depend on a functioning system of governance. It is abysmal what has happened with our police force. It has been transformed into the laughingstock of the Caribbean. And that is unfortunate because there's some good men and women in there who are made to feel as if they have to bow, to toe the line, to become engaged in corruption and otherwise to be able to get by or to be promoted. You have some people in there 20 and 30 years who have never been promoted. And then you have some who've been there for 2 and 3 years. And because they can kowtow and curry favor with the admin, the current Irfan Ali-led PPP, they are suddenly promoted. You have to see them call it out for what it is. It is the deliberate destruction of the police force and the twisting of that institution to form, instead of being a service to the people of this country, to being a deterrent and to being rather the enforcer of the government's will for the people. This is why you can have people who are refusing to collect a PPP t-shirt, refusing to collect, being taken to the station and being put on $50,000 bail because somebody didn't want to collect a t-shirt and they went on the internet and spoke about it. Her phone was taken away. She was taken to the police station and placed on $50,000 bail because she was now charged for a cybercrime. There is a problem. The system is broken and we have to fix it.
No more questions. All right.
Yes. While listening to the questions today, something dawned on me. That we as a people are really afraid to confront the issues in hand. Now, every Guyanese knows that it is impossible to live off of your savings. And I'm speaking to something that Dennis would have asked. Guyana today is the only country in the world where the economy is funded, fully funded, right now, on exportation of natural resources. You're telling me, while there's not a lot of doctors in front of these cameras, that none of those doctors knows that you can fix this economy by using our natural resource and that better than just exporting it? And giving contracts to this day, in the 21st century when we now have oil, where we have all these tax holidays, these tax holidays came in place when Guyana was a poor country. We're no longer a poor country. So why are we still suffering as a people? Why are we still asking the questions that we already know the answers to? And the answer is the politicians today are not in the business of transferring the oil wealth to the people. It's to transfer it to themselves. Because if those oil wells would have meet the people, Guyana would not have broken its trend. And you don't need to be a doctor to know this. So what I would ask of the Guyana today when they ask who would vote for us, whoever wants a Guyana, that they would be a part of, and not just hire people where a president sits there and puts a budget, and the 33 members say yes. We need to break that. We need to have people in parliament that's going to challenge that this doesn't make sense. This game is beginning, because the ministers today, the only thing they're focused on is how much my ministry. That has to stop, and we're going to stop that. Because today, in closing, we know the answer. The vice president has been conceding, and we all know, to the answer, which is corruption. Who admitted that the Lamborghini came in this country without paying tax? Barajak did. Who admitted that 50 million wasn't paid in taxes? Barajak did. Who admitted that they failed to promote the police? And the police is corrupt yesterday on the radio station? Barajak did. He's sitting there admitting and conceding to all of it. So how do we end corruption? By re-electing corruption. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We say thank you very much to the members of the media for your questions. Of course, you have our numbers, you can reach out. After you peruse the document and you may find more things out, I'm sure Mr. Shabral will find a few other questions.
Sure. Got about 10.
All right, thank you very much and do enjoy the rest of the
Shape, but with a good fight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Deeply appreciate it.